Welcome into Arrowhead Allies, everybody. Might be a little bit of a somber show with the Chiefs falling to 2-3, but we have got a great one here as we prepare for the Lions game. And we've got former Lions quarterback Charlie Batch joining us, also former Steelers quarterback, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers. And Charlie, let's just get into it here before we get into the football with the best of the Batch Foundation. I know you've got Batch of Toys, Batch Packs, doing a lot to give back to the community. The community's involved. And just tell us kind of what new things you have going on. I see tailgate time here that's coming up in early November.
Yes, we're busy this time of year. Once we get to March, it's busy all the way through the end. Best of the Batch Foundation, we're an educational foundation. We just celebrated 26 years, and we actually serve over 4,000 kids annually in 9 counties throughout southwestern PA. And really the main part, we're our out of school time along with our STEAM education. We say STEAM instead of STEM because we include the A for arts. But just last month, we gave over 3,000 book bags filled with school supplies. Now we're getting ready to ramp up into the holidays where we'll adopt 200 families during Thanksgiving. They'll get all the fixings and everything that they need there. And then during the holiday time around Christmas, we adopt 400 families, which is over 1,800 kids that we'll be able to impact. So we actually collect toys unwrapped, and then we need help wrapping them. And once we do that, they go into our Santa sleighs, and we actually deliver the week of Christmas. So it's really cool just to kind of see the reactions and really just all of the volunteer support that we receive throughout, not just the holiday, but throughout the year. It's just truly amazing to be able to do that. So we are truly humbled and grateful for all the blessings that we've been able to receive. And we just are grateful for that. So anybody who wants to know more about what we do, they can go to batchfoundation.org, and you'll be able to see all of the programs that we run throughout a calendar year.
And we'll have his websites, charliebatch.com and batchfoundation.org, scrolling at the bottom here. So if you're looking for those will be scrolling across the bottom.
Well, Charlie, I mean, coming in here, we thought we'd be in a little bit better sorts here, coming off of a Monday night loss as the Chiefs are to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But geez, this team you cover, the Pittsburgh Steelers, no problem at all. 3-1 in the AFC North. The Bengals are trading for Joe Flacco. Lamar Jackson's hurt, and the Ravens are a debacle. The Browns, well, they're the Browns. And you look around the AFC, you've got the Jaguars at 4-1, the Colts at 4-1, and the Bills just coming off of a loss to the Patriots. What's going on in this topsy-turvy AFC right now?
Yeah, nobody can ever envision that as the season started, that you're going to have Indianapolis, Jacksonville sitting there. Even the Steelers, quite frankly, but not a lot of people believed in what they were doing, especially with the addition of Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of June as they were heading into their off season and then get ready for training camp. So right now, you just never know because injuries are always occurring. Right now, you just hope that the Steelers don't fall into that trap game type of situation with all the injuries that are occurring within the division. And then you have the Browns, and then on a Thursday night, you have the Bengals. So it can easily be 2-0. It also can be 0-2, and then everybody's scratching their head as it relates to what's going on in Pittsburgh.
Hey, thank you for joining the show, Charlie. Glad to have you. One thing I want to hear from a former NFL player's stance on is what we saw last night from Chris Jones. Now, one thing that we have to think about with this and give a little perspective of is he did just suffer a loss in his family, and I'm not trying to peddle that as an excuse for what he did on the field last night, as Trevor Lawrence went in and scored that last touchdown after he fell on his ass. But I think I have to give him some sympathy here, because being a person who's gone through a lot of loss in his life, I know how grief works. Do you think that kind of entered his mind last night during the game? I can't find any excuse as to why an all-pro, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, would just lollygag on that last play. What did you take from that?
Yeah, that was a tough situation. If he's the rookie and the quarterback falls down and you now revert back to college rules and like, oh, maybe he's down because he already hit the ground and you stop, I can give you a pass in that particular situation. Unfortunately, that he's not a rookie. He's an all-pro. And when you I can't go into the mind of where he is and everything that he went through. And maybe he just blanked and he was thinking about other things in that particular moment. But it's hard to tell. All we can do is base our opinions on what we saw in between the lines. And when you see that and the lack of effort that happened, ultimately, could he have made the tackle? Could it came up short? Possibly, because they came up short earlier in the game, about a half a yard short. So you don't know how that play ultimately is going to impact him. I guarantee you is going to be addressed internally, if not immediately after the game, to ask him what his thought process was. And then as they review the film, that's going to be on display for the entire team to actually watch. What you think it probably is going to happen is he probably going to stand up in front of the team and apologize, talk about that moment and say, guys, you will never have to question my effort again. I'm going to go out there and give it my all. And if you can't, let your replacement go in and play that play, because ultimately that's the play that we're talking about, because Lawrence scored on that play.
Like, after watching it, do you think it's a possibility that Spags had some little funky defense in? He had him playing zone coverage in the middle or something. He was just up standing around looking around. It was very odd.
Yeah, it's almost like when he saw the ball on the ground, the knee on the ground, and then Trevor Lawrence on the ground in the fetal position. It just seemed like at that particular point is whenever he just kind of relaxed a little bit. And all of a sudden, but again, I wanted to see the acceleration of him even realizing, wait a minute, he's now live, he's running. I need to make an attempt to at least go after the tackle. With that not happening, that's why we're talking about it, because again, he is the only one who knows. And of course, you get crucified throughout the whole day here today about that one play that ultimately lost you the game.
Yeah, and I think he's deleted all of his social media accounts. I'm sure he's heard it from fans, and that could be a tough one. So.
And it's tough because, right now, in the way that we are in this world and the way that, the gambling is happening right now, it's one thing to win and lose a game. But right now, people have money on the game. And when that happens, they're now going to start attacking you personally. I don't care if you had, Kansas City to cover the spread. Maybe you had, Jacksonville to winning outright. Either way, these parlays take a different effect on how people react to a win and loss nowadays. And then ultimately I can understand why he has deleted his account, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to hear about your problems. They want to see you go out there and produce. And unfortunately, that didn't happen on that particular play. We hope that he's okay. Thoughts and prayer with his family from that manner. And ultimately, we're going to talk about this until he really comes into the forefront, talk about that in front of the cameras, which ultimately may not happen until Wednesday.
Well said, Charlie. Something else I want to get your thoughts on, being a former quarterback, is the pick six. Mahomes and Devin Lloyd. Looked like Devin Lloyd was on a simulated pressure, drop back. Mahomes saw Juju flash, didn't see that Devin Lloyd had bailed out on his pressure and got right in that window. And my question to you is there anything that Patrick Mahomes could have done, or is this just a tip your cap? Great player, made a great play. It was a great call. Quick, condensed area in the red zone right there. Or is there something Mahomes could have done pre-snap or during the play to get out of that?
Yeah, based off everything that you're looking back, when you're reading defenses, you're anticipating that guy is going to rush. And when he falls off, sometimes it's just, you get a sense of, hey, my gut told me, hey, I'm not going to get to the quarterback. I fall off. That play ultimately reminded me of James Harrison in Super Bowl 43. James Harrison was supposed to blitz. Kurt Warner was like, oh, he's blitzing. I know I have a throwing lane. And all of a sudden he's like, where the heck did James Harrison come from? And then he returns that for a touchdown. And after the game and all the sound bites that we hear all of these years later, James is like, I was supposed to rush. I just felt something. And I figure engage the tackle. I fell off and I just right in the passing lane. But those type of plays happen. And when you make them, it's a great play. And everybody's like, yes, that's it. But if it don't, then, on the flip side, you're like, what the heck was he thinking? But it was a great play by him. And ultimately, that's going to go down in history, because you can't get any better than a 99-yard touchdown. Unless you're like on a kickoff return or something, you can't go 109. But in this particular case, 99 is where, kind of sets the standard.
Yeah.
Well, let's look ahead here as the Chiefs really need to circle the wagons once again just to get back to 500. And it's going to be a tall order as the Lions, your former team, comes to town here on next Sunday night on Sunday Night Football. The Lions lost Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of the Bears. But, Dan Campbell's a guy that has this group battle tested. The Lions, the fan base is hungry. They're looking for more success. And this is one of the most balanced offenses in the NFL with the way they run the ball. Jared Goff, the way he's playing. So they're coming in 5-1 in the first place in the NFC North. So what kind of monster are the Chiefs going to be dealing with here on Sunday Night Football just to try to get back to 500 here?
Yeah, right now, as the Chiefs face the Lions, this is not catching anybody off guard like a couple years ago when they went into Kansas City on that opening day. You're just like, oh, wow, the Lions came out to play. Is it because they're playing against the Chiefs, defending champions? You're like, no. As we fast forward 3 years later, you're like, that team can ball. Jared Goff is for real. And you now have to take that, and Kansas City knows that this is not going to be a game that really, you're prior to Jared Goff getting there, essentially, you feel like, oh, that's the Lions will win, not a problem, even though Matthew Stafford was there. But ultimately, as this team believes in what Coach Campbell was doing, I mean, a lot of question marks coming into this season for the Lions. They lost both coordinators. They didn't know how that was going to materialize, but yet they have picked up right where they left off. And I think at this particular point, they're on pace to probably break the all-time scoring regular season record if they stay on pace right now based off what they're doing. So they're a dangerous team. I'm just like, again, Kansas City has them before Pittsburgh does. I'm just glad Kansas City has the Lions before Pittsburgh does in December.
Yeah.
Man, I wanted to ask you about the difference in coordinators, because I'm going to be honest with you. I had the Lions and the Texans both fallen from grace. Definitely the Lions, I thought, weren't going to be the same team as they were last year. To me, the NFL and football is definitely a sport to where the coaches are essential to the success of the team. Not necessarily so much in the NBA and basketball. If you got you a good superstar player, you can win pretty much any game that you go out on the court on. But if you're in the NFL and you have a great quarterback but a terrible coach, you're dead in the water 9 times out of 10. With that being said, there are so many nuances and new languages and new plays and new designs and different schemes and different methodologies that coaches use. Can you explain how tough it is, or some of the challenges it is going from an offensive and defensive coordinator to all new coordinators this year and still having sustained success?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to verbiage. If you have players that have been there a long time, new coordinators come in, yes, they will call maybe half of the offense different, but they would try to go and use some of the same terminologies that your guys are already used to. And it just kind of reminds me when we went from Ken Whisenhunt in Pittsburgh, and then we went to Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians had a different type of call system, but yet the majority of the players were there, and he kept some of the terminology and the verbiage the exact same way. So guys were comfortable there, but then as he started to kind of get these guys and they becoming more regulars in there, then he went back to the terminology that he actually used there, because you're just trying to, it's like, can't teach a dog new tricks, right? But again, that's the type of the terminology. And again, some of it is different. It just depends on it. I just remember a goal line play when I was with Detroit, and this was under Marty Morningway when they ran the West Coast offense. It was red right switch, Z right sprint right, GU corner halfback flat.
Oh,
You're
wow.
like, what? Why are you saying all that on the 1 yard line or 2 yard line? But yet when you get to Pittsburgh, it might just be split right, sprint right, halfback flat, and everybody knows what to do. So you just kind of cut those terminologies off. But the West Coast system prides themselves on a lot of verbiage, and that's what you're seeing even in Denver when you have what's his name out there, the young guy, second-year guy,
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, very same way, and because of Drew Brees, how he talks about him and Sean Payton. And I just remember Sean Payton's verbiage only because he was in Philadelphia when I was coming out of Eastern Michigan, and he took me through a bunch of individual meetings, and those plays popped up, and I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here? But again, it just, as a quarterback, that just you have to be in your playbook at night when everybody else is playing video games. You got to study it, not just to the right side. You got to anticipate being on the right hash and making it left and be able to spit it out just like that. So if we were on the right hash, all of a sudden the sprint left switch, Z left, sprint left, GU corner halfback flat, ready, and you got to know it on base. And that's a play really for me that was probably almost 20 years ago, and that was literally 2001. So that's how long ago that play was.
I love Bruce Arians. Do you have a Bruce Arians story? Quick, do you have one?
Bruce, he was hilarious. I mean, the one thing, he was almost that, he's a quarterback whisperer, and he doesn't get a lot of credit. And people look back, and he had Peyton Manning at the infancy stages there, was able to build up the playbook, and then came over to Pittsburgh, and he was patient with Ben. He broke down the playbook and literally built it back up to the point that Ben was comfortable with it. And you started to see his numbers go from where they were in 2006. He was like 31 touchdowns in 2007, and then ultimately a Super Bowl champion again in 2008. But as Ben was young during that time, Bruce didn't like to kind of mess with the psyche of quarterbacks, especially a young one. He can now mess with the veteran guys, but Bruce would always come in and he would go into meetings or he'd be in a game, and all of a sudden he would just start yelling at me about what Ben did. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even on the field. Why are you yelling at me? He said, I'm yelling at you because I'm really talking to Ben. And I'm looking like, whoa, yo, like I didn't do this. And one time, literally, he left the quarterback communicator on. He pushed the button, and he's literally yelling at me like, what the F has Ben doing out there? I can't believe this. And he left it on, not realizing that he let it go, then put it back on and was like, Ben, you're doing a great job. And Ben walks off the sideline, and he looks over, and I go to walk to Ben, and Ben was like, Coach, I heard you. You left the button pushed. I know exactly how you felt. Now you're trying to butter me up with a compliment. It was hilarious. We laugh about it all of these years later, but that's just how animated Bruce was, man. He was one of the best coaches that I've ever been around, and I love him to death, and I love him and his family to death.
Such great stories from him. I love Bruce Arians. And don't get me started on Marty Mornhinweg. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of PTSD and anger there. So we'll stick to the current Lions. And Terrion Arnold got some good news on his shoulder. He's feeling better, but he is going to be out this week. DJ Reed also out. That's your top two corners out. How much of a factor is that going to play with the Chiefs offense that seemed to have found something?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And that's going to be, you kind of look back and trying to figure out, what they're going to do. Kansas City looks like they are starting to get into that groove. In the passing game, Mahomes had I think he had 318 last night, but again, how much more can he do? They have to get that running game going because you can't have your quarterback essentially being the leading rusher. And that's exactly what Mahomes was last night. It was 60 yards. So the good part for them is the fact that the game is going to be in Kansas City. And I think ultimately you have to play to that crowd and now get those Lions behind them and play ahead. And if you can play ahead with that crowd, I think it's going to be tough for the Lions. But ultimately, when you look back, that's why you have your backups. You're hoping that they're going to play. As much as people hate preseason, that's where you prove your value to go out there and say, hey, if you had to get on the field, man, we can trust you by being out there. The one thing that I do worry about with your two top corners out, how does it affect the special team? Because typically those backup corners are sometimes your gunners. And will they be able to do both and really keep up stamina throughout the course of the game?
Charlie, I want to talk a little bit more about Patrick Mahomes and kind of the season he's had and the reemergence of this offense, as it were. It's been a couple years since we've really seen this team's ability to really push the ball down the field and to create explosive plays in the passing game. Like you said, the running game isn't there, but for Patrick Mahomes, now that he's at the age of 30, where you see him kind of in his development, and a lot of times we're trying to anoint other quarterbacks. We're trying to say, well, Josh Allen, he's the best quarterback we've ever seen in our lives. He's just an alien. I don't know what we're doing. We're not even playing the same game as him. We want to say Justin Herbert's that guy, who's never won a playoff game. We want to do that for a lot of players. Lamar Jackson, who's never played in a Super Bowl. Where is Patrick Mahomes right now, kind of as relates to the rest of the NFL as regards to the quarterbacks here? Yeah,
he's the top. He's at the top of it, and everyone knows that, and everybody looking, even though you're having kind of a shaky season, but with him under helm, you're going to now respect that. And I think ultimately for them, this is going to be just a little different because they're putting themselves in a hole and they're used to always having that bye week as they head into the postseason as the number one seed. If that doesn't happen, it's really going to change because they're not going to get that rest outside of a normal bye week that you would have. So those are the things that you kind of look for from that perspective. But again, all you need to do is win your division. They know they're going to have the Chargers, and if they handle those games, and then you just let the rest work itself out. But again, Mahomes is at the top.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a uniform question real quick because look, I am 100% football guy, and I dive into everything, including the refs. But the Lions keep pissing me off they have such beautiful uniforms. Both of your former teams piss me off. First off, the Steelers with the italic numbers. Go back to the block numbers. What are we doing, Pittsburgh? And then the Lions, they always want to wear all blue or all white. Charlie Batch, can you please tell the Lions to break out the silver pants with the blue socks, man? Can we stop with this all white, all blue mess with the Lions, please?
Hey, I'm not sure, who's making those decisions when it comes down to it. All I know is, you have to turn those into the NFL as it relates to what your uniforms are going to look like per game and get approval off of it. So somebody liked it, as it up there, just like somebody did here in Pittsburgh. And of course, you always have those retro uniforms that people will go out again, going from metallic to block here in Pittsburgh. So those are things that you ultimately look like. I just laughed when you were going with asking the question. I started chuckling to myself because you're like, the uniforms. I was thinking maybe like, hey, the socks are different. You need to pull them up, pull them down.
I could go on for days, Charlie. I could go on for days.
I was laughing because Ben Roethlisberger would always laugh at me for those 9 years, literally, that we were together. He would laugh at me because every time you walk into the locker room, you always have, the NFL kind of bulletins that are up there. And one of them is the uniform, on what your uniform is supposed to look like. And everybody would kind of doctor theirs up. And then one day Ben says, hey, Charlie, go over there and stand by that picture. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And I go and stand by the picture and everybody looks. He said, hey, man, Charlie looks exactly like that picture. And I'm laughing and I just turn around and look and I say, you're right, because I'm never going to get fined for my uniform. I'm never going to get a uniform violation with the fine behind it because I look like that dude. So I always just chuckled at it. But that was a little, that was something funny that me and Ben would always share.
Well, I got one real football question, though, and it concerns with Detroit's offensive line. Kansas City, we struggled with the O-line for the past 2 years. Can you just explain, especially to Clinton Noah, who are not 100% believers in what a good offensive line can do, can you please explain what Penei Sewell and what those guys are doing for Jared Goff?
Man, it's unbelievable, man. You have Sewell, you have Decker, and anytime you have some all pros that are sitting in front of you, man, makes your job a whole heck of a lot easier because you don't have to worry about whether I have time or not. Those guys are going to solidify the offensive line. And that's what that is right there is always amazing. When I look at Sewell, he reminds me so much of Alan Faneca, where you don't have to worry about your guard. They're anticipating what's happening on the defensive front before it even happens. So those are just, things that, it allows you to go to sleep comfortably whenever you know that you're not going to take the shots, more shots than what you typically would. Throughout the course of a game, you're always going to take 3 or 4 shots. That just comes along with playing a position. But when you start now taking, getting hit 7, 8, 9 times, you add that up throughout the course of the season, man, your body's not going to hold up.
Well said. And Charlie, I got to ask 2 plays that the Chiefs are already penalized 13 times, but NFL fans think that the Chiefs pay the refs. The refs are in the Chiefs' pocket, so they want to add 2 more on. They think it should have been 15 penalties. And we've got the play where it's a kind of pick play here with Juju on the goal line. First touchdown to Travis Kelce. People thought that should have been a penalty. And then the pass interference that wasn't called on Trent McDuffie's interception. Looks like the ball's still in Trevor Lawrence's hands. The contact happens at about 4.5 yards. You get contact within 5 yards. Do you think both of those were the right calls, that they shouldn't have been a penalty, or do you think maybe they got it wrong and some of those should have been a penalty?
Well, I think if you're looking at me and I'm on the offensive side of the ball, that looks like a perfect pick play to me.
Yeah.
But, I think, when you look at those things, again, all calls are subjective. And when you look at it in the moment, again, making the right call, you're able to overturn it. That's tough. Every team has that type of pick play on the goal line. You're banking on the fact that the outside corner is going to have his hands on the receiver. Naturally, you now tell the ref, hey, he was pushing me into that defender. That could have went either way off of it. As far as the back pick, to be honest with you, I did not see that one. So, I would be sitting here telling you a fib on the second play.
That's all right. You can just say it was fine for the Chiefs to not get that call.
Well, Charlie, we kind of mentioned this. I figured out about Charlie Batch as a Mizzou fan back in 1997 when Eastern Michigan came to Columbia. I was there. The stadium had just been renovated. Mizzou had Larry Smith as the coach, Brock Oliva, who would go on to be your teammate with the the Detroit Lions. And the sad part about this is, Charlie, and I'm feeling my age, I hate to make you feel yours, but I found one photo in existence of this game. And unfortunately, it looks like it might have been from 1967 instead of 1997. It's a black and white picture of Barry Odom, former Mizzou coach, trying to tackle you here at Furrow Field in Columbia. Just a core memory for me, and kind of springboarded you playing against a big school like Mizzou, and really helped kind of probably put you on the map that season as far as coming into the NFL.
Yeah, those games you always get excited about. coming from the Mid-American Conference, you always have 2 games that are going to be your 2 games. And we haven't played Missouri before, so everybody was excited about it. And anytime, I think at that time were they in the SEC?
Big
Big
12.
8.
Big 12. There you go. They was in Big 12. And I think when you look at, going down there, you're like, man, can we compete? And guys are gaining confidence. And we had a kind of a blended team. We had, a nice blend of upperclassmen versus youngers that were playing at the time. And offensively, we thought, hey, we can go down and score every single time. And first couple of times we got a lead. They couldn't stop us. Missouri would go down and score. I mean, it was an ebb and flow game going back and forth. And ultimately, we stayed in it until the middle of the fourth quarter. And they made a play and they stopped us. And that kind of changed the momentum of it. But we had that crowd silent for three and a half quarters, man.
I remember.
It was unbelievable.
Hey, can you put that picture back up?
Yeah.
Is that the same photographer who took Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point picture?
I know. I'm like, do we not have? I'm not even talking about 4K or HD photography, but like, do we got some color? This game was 1897.
Right. Hey, Charlie, I got another uniform question for you because I've always been interested in why quarterbacks, why they wore your face mask. You had the Dan Marino, Steve DeBerg face mask. Why did you go with the more sleek face mask? Well, why did you pick that one? I'm always interested in face mask picks.
Yeah, growing up in Pittsburgh, one of my favorite quarterbacks, I had 2, and one was Dan Marino, the other one was Randall Cunningham. And following those guys, Dan Marino wore that face mask for a long time. And I wore that up until the helmet changes happening. I think it was probably right around 2002 when I left Detroit to come to Pittsburgh.
The revolutionary helmets. Yep.
They came in and I was not allowed to use that anymore. They were like, you can use it, but you're going to be fine. And I'm like, you ain't finding me for no face mask. So ultimately that's the one. And then I switched face masks, but that's the reason why I originally went with it, because Dan Marino, born and raised here in Pittsburgh. And he was literally one of my favorite quarterback ever. You can't tell me any different as it relates to who is my GOAT with quarterbacks. And my welcome to the NFL moment, really, for me, it was probably my second year. And I'm in Detroit. We're going down to Miami. And we're playing the Dolphins in a preseason game. And one of my good friends, Jason Taylor, who I actually went to elementary school, he grew up in Pittsburgh and he was playing for the Dolphins at the time. So I'm going back and forth. And as the game is going on, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of the game. I'm over there looking. I'm trying to get Dan Marino's attention. Like, hey, can I get your jersey or something? And I didn't know. And I'm kind of trying to gas myself up on what I was going to say to my idol. And I'm walking across the field. And then he comes up to me and he's like, Charlie, how the hell are you? I said, man, I'm good, man. I said, this dude knows my name. I said, hey, Charlie, nice to meet you. I'm Dan. And he just looks at me. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, Mr. Marino. I said, I'm sorry. And he was like, man, call me Dan, man. This is it. And literally, that was a joke that I had from 1999 all the way through. And every year now at the Super Bowl, we make it a annual thing where we have to take our picture. And, I'm taking it because I'm just like, man, I don't know how often I'm going to see you or whatnot, man. But it's really cool. We become really good friends up until this point. There's not many people's jerseys that I have, but Dan Marino is one of them. And when he personalized that thing, man, I had that hanging up in my basement, and that's nobody could get rid of that.
He was supposed to be a Chief in '83, but we passed on him.
Got Todd Sackledge.
But Charlie, we've got you as an honorary ally here on Arrowhead Allies. You're so gracious with your time every year, and you've played at Arrowhead. Talk about what it's like, that atmosphere at Arrowhead, and what the Lions are walking into.
Oh man, it's going to be tough. Who put that picture back up there? Who's that on the left?
That's the best AI could do. I believe that's
you. He looked like me, but he ain't me.
That's Nico Remigio.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know. Like, whoa, he looked like that. But I look at it because somebody just called me John Legend earlier today. I was like, really? I guess we all look alike, I guess.
You're an ordinary ally, baby. There it is.
But I think, when you go into Kansas City, man, it's always tough. And, obviously, the national anthem rules have changed. But my first experience there was in 1999. And we played the Chiefs there. They had Derek Thomas on one side, the big fella Neil. It was Neil Smith. He was there during that time. And I just remember they're like, man, this crowd is unbelievable, man. It feels like, they're always yelling. And they said, wait till the national anthem happens. And we're on the field. And at that time they did the national anthem on the field. And when they did that, and the first time that they yelled Chiefs instead of the home of the brave, I was like, whoa, you jump in that. And it was crazy because I was literally trying to tell Ben Roethlisberger that story. But this was in 2009. And in 2009, they switched it because they did not have the players on the field. We actually stayed in the locker room. And all of a sudden, you could just go, Chiefs. And he jumped up in the locker room like, what was that? I said, man, that's what I was trying to tell you if we were on the field. And he didn't get a chance to experience that till later on in his career. But long way of saying, man, that fan base there in Kansas City, man, they're unbelievable. And it's a tough place to play. You got to be on your P's and Q's. And it doesn't matter what it looked like. And I think that 2009 game, we actually lost. Todd Haley.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
shout out to Chris Chambers. Wasn't it Chris Chambers who caught the pass, who took it off? At the Studebaker, didn't he get an interception or something? Andy Studebaker?
It was something there. I think Tyler Palco actually was he came in, he was playing quarterback that day, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009. Maybe somebody got hurt.
That was that was Matt Castle.
But I think he got hurt in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But that's where when you go down in 2009. But I say all that to say we fast forward to where we are now. Obviously they're looking to go to 4 straight Super Bowls. Andy Reid has done a great job down there with that fan base. And man, you have to applaud the Hunt family for really re-energizing that fan base. And it's a beautiful thing, especially when the time that you played in the league, Kansas City was not, or at least when I played in the league, Kansas City was not the top dog. But ultimately now they are, and it's just the way that things go. And I just applaud the Hunt family for really getting them to where they need to get to, and ultimately creating that fan base, for giving them something to cheer about. Hopefully they get that stadium squared away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Before we let you go, we got our fast 3. We're going to hit you with 3 quick questions. Gives us kind of whatever first comes to mind. And mine is your favorite memory or kind of game when you were a Detroit Lion. Was it the Thanksgiving beating Tom Brady? He came in late. I know it was Drew Bledsoe and Bill Belichick, 34-9. You had so many great ones.
Yeah, that would be my game, because that was kind of my welcome to the NFL moment during my rookie year, because my whole family came up from Pittsburgh. We had about 100 people there on Thanksgiving playing that 12 o'clock game and having the opportunity to beat the Steelers. And that was the game that really changed history. And I say that because people are like, well, what do you mean it changed history? Because that was the last time that you actually were able to call a coin flip in the air.
Yeah.
When Jerome said heads, tails, heads, and before it hit the ground, he said tails. And literally from that moment afterward, you had to call the actual coin flip in the air before it was actually flipped. So that was my welcome to the NFL moment in Detroit, beating the Steelers on Thanksgiving of 1998.
I said tails.
Yeah,
I remember
they're arguing, as the overtime begins, about what they said. We go down in 3 plays, kick a field goal. We kick the field goal, win the game. We're walking off the field, and they're still arguing about the coin flip.
Yeah.
That was Phil Luckett. That was the referee in that game.
Yeah, I remember him.
Charlie, we got the draft in Pittsburgh this year, so we're going to be heading out, I'm sure. So what's some recommendations? What's good in Pittsburgh? Where we eating at? Like, what's Pittsburgh got to offer? I haven't been there in like 11 years. So is it going to be a good draft host?
It's going to be a great time up here. I sit on one of the draft host committees as well. I sit on a legacy committee. So we're telling great stories about Western Pennsylvania guys that actually born and raised here, played in Western Pennsylvania, and ultimately went on to become a professional football player. So there's a lot of great people around. It's hard to kind of shrink all of the players that have played in from Western Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh area to be able to tell those stories. So what I will say is, once you figure out where your accommodations are going to be and what area you're staying in, then I can kind of go from there and help you out to figure that out. But all I'm going to say is, when you do get to Pittsburgh, make sure you make enough time to come over and visit our foundation. We actually went from 5,300 square feet to 33,000 square feet. And we're excited to show it off. So we wanted to give you a tour, show you everything that we do. And we are literally 15 minutes from downtown Pittsburgh. So just kind of giving you a proximity once you make your arrangements.
We'll definitely do that. We got to take you out to dinner, and then we'll take that tour. Got to make it a great trip and meet up with you, my friend.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're looking to showcase it. Anticipating over 300,000 people in the city, and they're already converting the city to what you're going to see. Man, it's going to be amazing.
Sweet.
Mhm. All right, last quick question. I'm gonna keep it with the food theme. We're gonna do start, bench, cut.
Okay.
Kansas City barbecue, Detroit style pizza, or is it a pastrami sandwich from Pittsburgh? Is that what you all do up there? The sandwiches?
They put fries and coleslaw on
Yes,
sandwiches.
that's
So,
exactly what I was talking about. Start,
yeah.
bench, cut.
I'm starting Kansas City barbecue. I
Yes.
am benching Detroit pizza, and I am what was the last
Cut.
one?
Right?
Cut.
No. Okay, let me back it up. So I'm a bench the sandwiches from Pittsburgh, but I'm gonna cut the Detroit pizza. That's what I'm gonna do. So
Okay.
I'll start Kansas City barbecue. I'm benching the Pittsburgh sandwiches, and then ultimately I am cutting the Detroit pizza.
That's fair. Charlie, you're the best. We can't thank you enough. I'm glad we started our show with this interview, because now we're going to I think we're going to take it easy on the Chiefs. I feel like after we let you go, I feel like our mood's going to be lightened just a little bit. And you might've just given us just that motivation to keep it on the real here today. So thank you so much, Charlie.
Hey, not a problem, man. I understand the frustrations. Hopefully, a month and a half, 2 months from now, you look at this, loss and be like, "Well, know what? Jacksonville was actually better than we thought." If they continue on, then maybe you feel better that way.
You bet.
For sure. Always an honor, Charlie. Can't thank you enough for your time. Batfoundation.org. Make sure you go there, check out everything they got going on, give a donation, help out. And Charlie, we will see you soon, my friend. Thanks a lot.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate you having me, fellas.
Thanks a lot.
Anytime, my friend. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, I'm in a better mood already. Charlie Batch is just like the nicest guy in NFL history, and he's in here, just being cool, calm, and collected, talking about, this Chiefs Lions game coming up, and I'm just like, you know what? You're right, guy. It is going to be okay. The Chiefs are 2-3, but Charlie Batch said it's going to be okay, so I agree with Charlie.
We have a comment here, though, that says, why is there such a hesitation to run the ball when we're at the 5-yard line? That comes from Instagram, Julian23SS.
We ran one in from the 5 with Kareem, right?
Yeah, later in the game, but it is a consummate problem or issue or talking point with Andy Reid. There has to be a way to insert that running game a little bit more into the game plan. They did better last night. It's just I always leave the games hungry for more strategic runs. It's like, okay, they're running when it comes to 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1 or 4th and short or whatever with Kareem Hunt. I just feel like he's getting.
I just want to avoid this.
Of course we do. A la Russell Wilson, against the Patriots. And like you stated earlier with Charlie Batch, those windows are tight in there, and it's really hard to squeeze something in those windows in the red zone. But man, Pacheco looks like he got it. I don't feel like he's getting into the groove of things. And the way that they're using the running backs, I just feel like I didn't see Kareem Hunt getting this many carries this year. And if Pacheco was hurt, that's one thing. But I don't know, man. I just want to see more second down runs. It's like they'll run on first down sometimes and they'll get stopped, maybe for a 1-yard gain or for no gain at all. And then they'll be like, forget it. We're gonna pass this thing. I feel like there could be better incorporation of the run game in certain downs.
Yeah, I do too. And I think last night you saw what Kareem Hunt had a 31-yard run. I think that there's strides being made. I know here in Kansas City, when it comes to the running game, anything like that's going to be baby steps, and you're probably not going to see an explosion of a running game take over a game. But I do like how that was mixed up a little bit. I don't think you got as much Xavier Worthy as we did against Baltimore. I think he was a little banged up. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be just injured or hurt every second of his career. But basically, like every second
of his career, but this season it seems like he's just never going to be
holding stuff. He's going to come off the field, kind of like, was it Brandon Albert that always did that? Always like down on the ground and thought it was over, and he'd come back
in game.
And so without being able to use Worthy as much in the running game, I think they had a couple of those. But yeah, it's just, we talk about it a lot, and maybe this line is not as built as much to be road graders, or how would we know?
Disagree.
Well,
Look, Trey
How-
Smith
no.
is a mauler. Creed Humphrey is a mauler.
I guess.
Kingsley Sumatai, the pass blocking ain't his cup
Yeah.
of tea, preferred cup of tea. I think Josh Simmons can do whatever. Jawan Taylor, more of a finesse, more of a agile pass protector type guy. He's not a mauler, but those three on the inside, they got mauled all over. Trey Smith can't wait to run the ball. So it's confusing to me, especially when I feel like you have the weapons to do it. It's just, is it scheme? Is it will? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Reid that's never been his MO. It's never going to be. So I guess we just have to deal with it. I mean, they're not really going after these backs that are bell cows that you give the ball to 20, 25 times a game. And it's just, Mahomes is going to have to make magic. The defense is going to have to get better. And the run game's just going to have to be supplementary. And Brashard Smith leaking out of the backfield. But Brian, I want to go to you with this because we've talked about Chris Jones deleted his social media account, standing around, but it took me back to the Super Bowl with Travis just standing there watching Patrick run around. Got a lot of standing around over here by our key players. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, what is going on with their mentality of this team that you can stand around in the Super Bowl down 27-0 and stand around while Trevor Lawrence is about to get up and run the ball in the end zone?
Guys, I don't know if I want to be that guy that early.
Do it.
But it's something to this though. Because Kelce did it again this year. Not as blatant as it was in the Super Bowl. But I'm just wondering, fellas, just think about how many postseason games and postseason minutes that this team has played throughout the Patrick Mahomes era. And I want to say it equals out to like 2 months of extra football, which is basically half of another year on your career. Is being fatigued and tired a thing? And the thing that we talked about with Charlie Batch, I think is real though. I think like grief can hit you wherever. It don't give a damn if you're on a football field. It don't give a damn if you're cooking. It don't give a damn if you're at work. Whatever. Grief is going to do what it do. It's perplexing to me. That's why I'm so confused right now as to why Chris Jones would, like, he's one of the more intense players on the team. Kelce too. So I think these guys could be a little tired, y'all. They're professional athletes. These are world-class athletes who stay in shape. And I'm not questioning their workout regimen or anything like that. I just think that the toll of a dynasty, the toll of the expectations is maybe catching up to some of these guys, man. And that's the only explanation I could give as to why on some plays they're slacking off. And it's like, we can see you. They know we can see them. They know that this is going to be everywhere. That's why Chris Jones deactivated his socials, which was probably a smart thing because he probably would have said something that he would have regretted to somebody today. But man, is it out of the realm, y'all, for Chris Jones to be on the trading block? I don't want to do it, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Contract wise, I don't know if that's going to be good for the Chiefs salary cap wise moving forward. And my problem with Chris is a known loafer on plays. He's our most key intricate part of our defense, especially our defensive line. We don't have a lot of other talent there. He plays a ton of snaps. So I've kind of just said some plays he's going to loaf. I get it. But if you're just going to stand there, if you are in the huddle of the defense, you break, you put your hand down on the line, you're like, I know I don't have it. I'm just going to stand here. Get out of the damn game, especially in a key moment like that. And in a key moment, you can't stand that. You can't loaf. You can't stand there. This is a key moment. The game is on the line. Travis Kelce, you're in a Super Bowl. You can't stand there in a Super Bowl. You want to do it week 8, stand there week 8. You can't do it in the Super Bowl. You can't do it when the game's on the line, the crucial moments, clutch moments late in the game against the Jags. You can't do it. If you're going to, get the hell off the field.
It's troubling. And I think that I think that we've talked about this before, about the grind of what this has been through. And we've been through it too. being a fan of this team is been a grind for us. To be honest, it is a lot of extra games. It's a lot of, gosh, Noah, how many Super Bowls in a row? Brian, you were there with us at 58. We've just been a lot of places and seen a lot of things, and there's been a lot of success. And right now, I guess the unfortunate part to me is that the Chiefs aren't taking advantage of the fact that people are saying it in the comments all over the place that the AFC is completely wide open. The Chargers have now lost 2 in a row. We thought they were going to run away with this thing. The Bills just lost to the Patriots, and the Chiefs are just dilly-dallying around here. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you go 2-4 and lose to the Lions, I'm going to start having a hard time trying to find ways to get this team to the playoffs. Is this going to be like the 24 Bengals here? Well, they're a lot better than their record, but they're not going to be let into the playoffs if they're 9-8 and they don't have the record to get in. At some point, you got to start finding some wins. You got Jaden Daniels back in Washington. The Texans are playing a lot better. You got the Bills coming up at the end of the month or beginning of November. There are losses on this schedule. The Chiefs are going to have to start finding a way. You saw the Noah, you put the graphic up. 0-3 in one-score games, where last year they were 10-0. The tides have turned in the wrong way here.
Yeah. Okay. Let me reel you guys back in. It's not all gloom and doom. Just look at the losses that the Chiefs have had this year. And I hate it, but it's a positive. They're self-inflicted, which means they're coachable. Which and it's like, well, how long are we going to use this excuse as to, it's our fault and we can correct these mistakes and blase. It's a long season. Okay, it's okay. We've seen these type of losses before with Marcus Mariota throwing a touchdown to himself. We saw Andrew Luck fumble the ball, get the ball, and score a touchdown in a playoff game. We've been through worse. We've seen this crazy, stupid stuff before. It's happened to us. But the thing of it is, though, is that I think that this team is getting, even yesterday they got better to me on offense from the Ravens. I feel like they're on the incline and not the decline. A tough loss yesterday. And one of the most weird things about yesterday was the Chiefs really could have sealed this game with that damn tipped interception that they had. You go up 3 possessions, and at that point in the game, what was that, mid-second quarter or something like that? The Chiefs were absolutely rolling in the first quarter and a half of this game. And then all of a sudden, I think it was when Xavier Worthy got hurt, the offense just halted. They just it stopped going and stopped moving. They started committing penalties. Jawan Taylor, but I feel so positive and so serious about this team, and I feel like you just said it. The AFC is wide ass open.
Well,
like there's no dominant team right now, and that includes the Chiefs. I don't give a damn about the Colts being 4-1 or being good. I don't give a damn about the Bills or the Patriots or any of these other. Nobody is battle tested like the Kansas City Chiefs, and I just have full faith and confidence that they're going to get this thing together and have it all come together at once. Because the biggest problem that we have not talked about tonight is special teams.
Mm-hmm. That is on the docket. Believe it. Believe me.
Go for it. Take it. Jack Cochran with the holding. Butker. I blame myself for the Butker situation. After he made that extra point, I was like, you know what? We're at the tail end of the game here. We got the lead. There's 1:45 left. He got through a game clean. And then what does he do? No, he did not get through a game clean. He kicks the ball out of bounds.
Inexcusable. And Dave Tove's unit was a disaster yesterday. We saw it all over the place. We saw 4 straight kickoffs. Yeah, that's right, Chiefs. They had to be kicked off that many times because of a pick 6 and the offense of the Jaguars coming alive. 4 straight penalties on kick returns. And some of those by Brashard Smith were setting the Chiefs up in good field position. There were no joke. And then to give the Jaguars the ball at the 40-yard line, that's almost an automatic. And, you could go through it all you want. If only football was a computer simulation, the Chiefs would have taken more time off that game leading drive. And Hollywood Brown makes a great play on the sidelines, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's too many yards, and they're not using any timeouts. And so I was actually disappointed with the Hollywood Brown completion. Was hoping he had a toe on the line or something. But that's how thin the line is when you give a team the ball back with 2 timeouts in 1:45. they're at the 40, they're going to go down and score unless you make a big play. Chiefs weren't able to do that. Shamari Connor, who I know you're not exactly too high on these days, out of position time again, and the Jaguars go down and make it happen. So it's just it was a deflating loss though for me. Like I was like one of those like gut punchers. To me, it was like one of those that lingered. I like woke up in the middle of the night. Like, did that really? And that hasn't always been the case. The first 2 losses weren't that way for me. So.
It's only week 5, man. It's week 5. It's a regular season game.
You're right, but the losses are piling up. This team is 2-3. If this team goes to 2-4, are we going to say that again next week? Like,
it'll be a different set of circumstances there. But you got to believe in the resume of this team and the history and what they've been through. This reminds me of 2021. I remember a game they were going to Washington. They were down, and I think it was a tip Tyreek Hill interception that towards the end of the first half that really turned the tide for the team. They came out swinging, and then they were on fire for the rest of the season after that. I believe in the resume and the DNA of this team, man. That they'll get their shit together. That somebody is holding Chris Jones accountable today, right now, as we speak.
Noah, what do you think?
I sure hope so. Well, you mentioned it, and I mentioned this secondary before the season, being a little worried about it. And if they're going to play Shamari Connor every single snap on defense because he's from Jacksonville, or even worse, they like him, and Noel Williams, who has looked really good in this young season, 4 snaps on defense. I don't know if this is getting better. I don't know if I can believe in the resume, because there's one thing that the Chiefs have shown in their resume that I dislike, and that is their staunch loyalty / arrogance with players that they draft, coaches that they believe in, players that they believe in that aren't worthy of that. Sky Moore stayed on this roster far too long. Shamari Connor getting 58 snaps to Noel Williams 4 snaps because Andy Reid doesn't like playing rookies or whatever it is. Spags loves him, so Shamari Connor, because he's a Swiss Army knife, he can play any position. He can't play any of them well, but he can play them all. Like, great. That's fantastic. This isn't a game where Shamari Connor this isn't a watch the tape and get better game. This is a get off my team game. You are horrendous. You never turn your head for the ball. It's like a Marcus Cooper, a Phillip Gaines. It's almost a William Barty. Not that bad, but Shamari Connor's lost out there. He can't do anything. He's got to get off the team. Kareem Hunt needs number 27 back. Well, I think you can get it back because 27 is going to be available here real shortly, except maybe it's not, because the Chiefs are loyalty and arrogant and they believe in their ways. And I feel like Spags is sticking his foot in the ground this morning saying, I'll show you we can do it. I'll play him even more, even though it's not possible. He played 100% of the snaps.
Some coaching malpractice there, especially in the slot, especially against Thomas, the number 1 receiver of the Jaguars on a game, deciding situations down there. And
58 snaps to 4. Noel Williams cannot get on the field.
We talked about Noel and some of the Pro Football Focus analytics that were in his favor, and we like what we see there. And the question to me is, what do we, Trent McDuffie's almost a must at this point. You've got to get that done, I think, to me. And
contract?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine this team without Trent McDuffie.
Exactly.
It's it'll be the 2002 Chiefs.
Oh my God.
Not even the 2003 Chiefs.
He's going to come up and Xavier's going to come up. And we paid Trey Smith. We paid George Karlaftis. We paid Nick Bolton. Now we want to pay Trent McDuffie. Rasheed Rice is going to come up. Xavier Worthy's going to we can't pay everyone.
That's why 10-15 minutes ago I mentioned a trade scenario. Look, Bucker, I think Bucker's I know we can't do anything this year. I'm not sure about next year. I know Jawan Taylor is coming off, so that'll be some money. Maybe they're expecting Travis Kelce money to come in. If he retires after the season, I think the money is there for McDuffie. I just think they're just waiting out, a couple things to happen. But along with what I just said, though, that I don't know. I don't know what the dead cap number is for 95 next year or something. I don't know. But he's the leverage that you have with him as far as him being a dominant player and people believing him to be a dominant player. I don't know how much longer we're going to have with that. So
31, and I love Chris. Come on, we all do. Chris,
I do too. Yes. I named him. I named Chris Jones. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna hurt your feelings, but to me, he could be better than DT when
I'm
it's
not
all said and done.
I'm not totally off board with that.
It's a tough one. I can't
It is
tell you you're
because
wrong.
and I kind of walked that back a little bit because imagine DT playing with Mahomes.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta be fair with this thing. But man, Chris Jones is just the key situations in such crucial moments that he's come up in, man. That they took Derek Thomas off of the field on rushing downs against the Bills in the AFC Championship game. He only
Yeah.
played maybe half the game. Imagine the Chiefs taking Chris Jones out that much. So it's like I don't,
Then maybe you wouldn't stand around.
we love Chris Jones, man, but it's about the Chiefs, not any individual player. And in order for this thing to sustain and to keep going, look, we had to learn some lessons during the Bill Belichick era, for right or for wrong. He let go of some of those aging stars that he was having. I remember Richard Seymour, yes, to the Raiders. I remember 2003, after or before week 1, when he Lawyer Malloy, the safety,
Yep.
cut him. He went to Buffalo, and it's been so
Scott
many
Law.
examples, man. So I don't think that it's off the table. I really don't.
I don't think anything's off the table, depending on where this goes. If Travis Kelce's at the end, how is Andy Reid? What does he want?
No. So that's why I stopped you, because Andy Reid is trying to get that coaching record. He's trying to get the all-time wins record.
We're going to have to start better than 2 and 3 for the next few seasons, Brian, for that to happen, I'm afraid.
Real quick, I'm just going to roll through these before we get to prediction time. We were talking about the secondary. Jalen Watson, good player. I'm not going to rag on him here, but the Super Bowl, he got roasted a few times. He's played pretty decently up till this point, but he gets roasted here. Brian Thomas Jr. and then De'Ami Brown, backbreakers on that last drive for the Jaguars. Something to keep your eye on. You hate to see it, but I mean, I'm not going to crush him, but that's kind of my issue with the secondary, that they can be had. It's like Trent McDuffie's the guy, our known quantity, and that goes back to kind of Clint's point, getting that deal done. Noah Williams looks promising, but it's early. Like I said, he could be Marcus Cooper. You never know. So
I mean, it's Jalen Watson's in a tough spot, y'all.
Yeah.
He's Larry Brown from the Cowboys in '95. You're dealing with perhaps, I don't want, maybe a shutdown corner on the other side. So they're going to go at you. And I talked about this on the pod on Brian's World this week about Jalen Watson's going to get picked on. It's just going to come with the territory when you have somebody like McDuffie who's locking shit down. Because did you see him last night? He looked like an A+ player to me. So it was a reason why they kept going at Watson. I'm sure in the huddle, Cohen was telling Trevor Lawrence, avoid 22, go at 35 at all costs. And they've been doing that this season too. So it's a tough test for Jalen Watson. He's in a tough spot because of the greatness of Trent McDuffie.
And then last thing here, Clint, do you think that if Hollywood Brown gets his head around, catches this, I mean, that safety's got to flip his hips. Hollywood's on the sprint right there. If he catches that in stride, is that any sort of long field goal range to where we could have got a buck or miss and lost in a different way?
Yeah, at the time I was so deflated by the Trevor Lawrence fall down, get up, fall down, touchdown, that I was not even wanting to get into field goal range. I just wanted it to be over. And I think that could have been complete to probably the 40-yard line. Maybe you sprint up to the 45 or midfield and give yourself a shot there. I mean, I wasn't quite even in that mode at the time. I do think that Hollywood needs to do that. This is a team that's gotten down the field and in field goal range in 13 seconds. And I thought 23 might just be just enough time, but alas, no, there was no completions and we went nowhere and didn't even get close. So
that's why I wasn't deflated after Trevor Lawrence scored. I was deflated after the goddamn holding penalty on the ensuing kickoff that put us back to the 18-yard line.
It was over.
That cost everything right there. The Chiefs get the ball at the 30 or 35-yard line. Are we serious? We only need 15, 20 yards to get in field goal range with 23 seconds? That's what deflated me. So those
You're right.
special teams killed this team yesterday.
Yes.
As much as we want to talk about all the other stuff with Watson and Jones and whatever, it was
Connor.
special teams that ultimately sealed the deal.
Penalties, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
for sure, because as bad as people were playing all over the field, we had the lead. If we just don't kick that ball off out of bounds or we don't hold on the return, who knows what could have happened. So we have a question here. Will Christian Fulton, be a difference maker when returning? Just quickly, I say difference maker's a big word there, a big phrase. But anything that can get Shamari Connor off the field will be a little bit of a difference maker. So I will say yes in that.
I'll see it when I believe it.
Well, I would believe it if he were to stay on the field more than a couple series at a time. He's just he's the best ability is availability, and he's not there yet. So
yeah,
I just think we need Watson, Noah Williams, and then more McDuffie in the slot. Go with those three. Connor stays off the field. We got Roland Wallace who can play some safety if they want to go with a 3 safety package with Cook and Hicks, and then put Roland Wallace out there. He's shown he can make plays, get his head around, pick the ball off. Connor's never shown me anything, so I don't get the love affair with him. But these Chiefs coaches and GM, they get these ideas in their head of the players they like and ideas that they can do with them, and it's hard to get them off those ideas. But it's prediction time, fellas. Clint, I'm starting with you.
Hey, the last 2 weeks ago when the Chiefs were trying to get back to 500, they played a Baltimore Ravens team that was decimated, and we didn't know it at the time, but they were about to have their season change in a big way, and they're probably done. Despite what the weird analytics say about the AFC North there, I still don't quite understand that. But this is another circling of the wagons type moment. Can the Chiefs get to 3-3 and kind of set things back to square one and look at the Raiders coming after that and have some hope for getting this thing turned around like Brian's talked about? Yeah, that's all on the table. This time I say, though, the most balanced offense in the National Football League is coming to Arrowhead Stadium. And I think the Detroit Lions come and they put one on this Kansas City Chiefs team and send these asses to 2-4. And then all these pundits and all this talk about, well, this team's better than its record and it's going to get it together. You're going to look at 2-4 and wonder, is this team going to ever be able to put enough wins together to get back even in the playoff hunt? I like the Lions. I like them big. 35-24 at Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday Night Football. Chris Collinsworth, welcome to it, baby.
I'll let Brian go last because I don't have a lot for this. I know the top 2 corners are out for the Lions and DJ Reed and Terry and Arnold, but that offense is going to cut through us like a knife through hot butter because if Shamari Connor, all I can go off of his last game, if he's going to play every snap, then there's going to be a lot of plays open for that explosive offense, whether it be Gibbs, whether it be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Laporta, the tight end through the middle. They're going to have their pick of the litter when it comes to Jared Goff sitting back there with no pressure, a good offensive line, a horrible defensive line they're going against. I've got this one 31-27. Chiefs put points up, but they can't put up enough. Lions win.
I didn't know I was doing a show with Jack Harry and Frank Bowl tonight.
Oh,
okay.
That's
okay.
God
damn.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you had me go last because this is some bullshit. Look, fellas, look, I gotta bring us back down to reality, man. Look, but we are still the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, for all intents and purposes, if a couple things go the other way, the Chiefs would have 1 loss maximum. Okay, so look, stop it, y'all. 33-30. The Chiefs are going to win on Sunday Night Football. Arrowhead's going to go crazy. The tailgaters are going to be out there at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. They're not leaving until 6 a.m. Monday morning. Okay, it is going to be a party at Arrowhead as them Detroit Lions coming in with their ugly all-white uniforms that I'm sure they're going to wear.
They are.
Look, this team isn't going 2-4. They're not going 2-4. You can cut this, you can reel it, you can post it, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm guaranteeing the Chiefs are not going 2-4. They will win this week, and they will be 3-3 heading into the week where we get Rashee Rice back. Shout out to my brother Chris G for tapping in, man, one time, man. Big love. That's my brother right there.
Thanks for being Chris, man. You brought a lot in here. Thanks so much, dude. That was great. Appreciate you being on.
She's going to
appreciate you. I hope Brian is right. I hope we do go 3-3. When we started 0-2, I said that's my kind of marker. I want to get to 3-3. If Brian is right, we get there. If Clint and I are right, Oh, I hope Rasheed can play some corner, maybe some safety, because we might not need help on the offensive end. We might need him in the secondary like Troy Brown. But until then, let's hope it's 33-30 like Brian.
Get it back.
Go, Chiefs!
Chiefs.